Hello, welcome to our end of semester project. In this video, you will see our process on how we were able to launch a ping pong ball as far as we could.
The key criteria and objective or goal of this project is to build a device that is capable of launching a ping pong ball and to follow the provided materials list. We are to use recycled materials to substitute original materials if we do not have those needed materials on hand. And we are prohibited from buying any materials. Other requirements: the object or device must be freestanding, and it also needs to include an elastic component, such as a rubber band, and the distance traveled by the ball from the launching device to the point of first bounce must be measured, and the idea is to have the ball land as far as possible.
So, differences in designs or ideas tried. We had 3 different ideas or designs, one of them being ballista or crossbow. Next one, popsicle stick launcher. Next one after that, which was our final one, we had tongue depressor launcher. So our first idea, ballista or crossbow, that kind of came from a project I had in high school where in physics class, where we had to launch a tennis ball instead of a ping pong ball. So my group in physics class made a crossbow kind of design, and it worked pretty well. We were gonna do that, but then we looked at the criteria again and realized that it wasn't allowed. So we decided to find another design. Second idea we had was popsicle stick launcher. Popsicle stick launcher was very simplistic design. It's what you see in the top right picture. After our first idea, our goal was basically to find a very simple, small design. So the popsicle stick launcher is basically 4 sticks stacked up on top of each other, and then we glued them all together. And then that's the first part. And the second part, we grabbed, I think it was 2 sticks, wrapped a bunch of rubber bands on one end of them, and then super glued a bottle cap. We originally had a plan to use a bigger cap, but the ball didn't really sit right, so we used this like a normal water bottle cap. After our first test run of trying to launch the ping pong ball, it absolutely fell apart, so we decided to go to a more sturdy material, which was the tongue depressor launcher. It's basically the same exact design, except we use 7 popsicle sticks, and instead of gluing them together, we use Scotch tape to keep them all together. And then the second part was the exact same as that, and which is going to be the middle picture to the left. And then we have a size comparison of the two as well.
After our initial thought of the ballista crossbow was ruled out, we had to come up with a much smaller, more condensed, and efficient model. So to do this, we had to create some form of tension and a lever that would act from that tension. So what we did was that we took a few popsicle sticks and put them all together, and then used a few more to create our lever. We would then sandwich the small stack of rubber bands in between the lever, which is shown in earlier slides, and that would be our first prototype model of what would become our launcher.
Our improvements that we made were changing the bottle cap of our design from a Gatorade bottle cap to a water bottle cap. This being that the Gatorade bottle cap gives very inconsistent results, and it didn't really hold the ping pong ball that well for when we launched it every time. And the second one being, as I'll talk about in this slide also, the change from the popsicle sticks to the tongue depressors. We launched the ping pong ball 3 times from each of the following designs, I guess, and that being the popsicle stick launcher, the tongue depressor's horizontally launcher, and the tongue depressor's vertically launcher. This referring to the stack of wood that goes on or under the launcher, as you see in our above slides. Then we took the average distance of all 3 launches. So the popsicle stick average distance was 50.6 inches, Then the tongue depressor horizontally, that average distance was 54.3 inches. The tongue depressor vertically's average distance was 80.3 inches. So we decided pretty fairly that the tongue depressors vertically had a much farther average distance than the other two designs, and that it'll be our final product because it launches the ping pong ball the farthest.
At the end of our project, our final design becomes a much more thought out, a much larger and more efficient version of our initial concept. It still has the same lever, the same use of tension, the same elastic component, except it's put on a rather slightly larger scale. So to do this, we change out the popsicle sticks for tongue depressors as they are bigger. And so at the end of the day, we end up stacking the popsicle sticks vertically as opposed to horizontally. We then change the ping pong ball to be held in a cap from a water bottle as opposed to a larger cap from a Gatorade bottle. And for our lever, we use two popsicle sticks that are held together by one rubber band. This allows us to maximize the distance that's traveled by the ping pong ball. It comes out to about an average of 80.3 inches, and you can see how that is measured in the following video.
We'll try it.
In the previous video, you can see that our tape measures rolled all the way out. This allowed us to go back through the video after we have done our trials and tests, which allowed us, in turn, to find an accurate area on where the ping pong ball hit on its first bounce. This then gave us the numbers we needed to find our average of 80.3 inches for the test run.
So, use of allocated time. Our first meetup was October 10th. We had a brainstorming session generating various ideas and sketching designs for the launcher we intended to build. We agreed that during our next meeting, we would compile a list of items required for the construction of our prototype. So that leads us to October 17th, where we designated items that each person could bring or had in their homes, and had a clear set of what we would be creating for our next meetup. On November 14th, we constructed the prototype and recorded data of the distance for that prototype. Next meetup, we decided to create a better model with improved distance. So we built and tested a new version of that model. After recording the trials of the distance for the new model, we concluded that it was improved. With this new prototype, we made finalizations, improvements, which increased our objective of the distance that the ping pong ball was launched in land. And then on November 29th, we designated tasks to each member for the written report and started to write the report. Decide for the next meetup to tie up all loose ends. So that leads us to our final meetup on November 30th, where we recorded the video for our prototype and finished up for the presentation and final adjustments for the written report.
We will now take questions regarding our overall process through this project and any other questions you may have.